Welcome to Brewed in Monmouth, the real estate tea with Kate and Doreen. We're here to talk homes, hometown gems, and real conversations with the entrepreneurs and locals who keep Monmouth County buzzing. I'm Kate, and as always,
I'm Doreen. Each week, we're bringing you the voices behind the businesses, the stories behind the sales, and the tea you need to hear. So grab your favorite drink and let's get into it. So today we have a really exciting episode to bring to you. I think, Kate and I are always talking about how important maintenance is. We've had a lot of incredible guests who talk to us about health maintenance, mental well-being maintenance, and home maintenance. And one of the things that we come across very often in our homes is what we call WDI, or wood destroying insects, right? That comes up as part of the home inspection. So have you had experiences, Kate, where you're in a house, they're doing an inspection, and there's a huge termite infestation that nobody knew about?
Not just termites, carpenter ants, carpenter bees.
Big ones, right? And the homeowners are usually, they have no idea, right? Because who looks at that? So it's one of those things that I think is a part of home maintenance that is so easy to incorporate into your budget, that just saves a lot of headaches down the road. Yes. Everybody's selling the house at some point. So to maintain it and to not have additional damage through termites that, if it goes unknown for a long period of time, can literally become structural damage.
Absolutely.
Right? It's a problem. So we're really excited to have, our friend George here, George Gonzalez from Agile Pest, to talk to us about how smart it is to make that investment in pest control so that you don't have any surprises. And it is something, if something comes up, you can mitigate it very, very easily because you usually have a warranty with the house. With the maintenance that you have.
And our soil here in Monmouth County is so sandy that termites love it. A lot of times people see HGTV and they see a British family over in the UK and there's termites and it's just, they don't know how to deal with it. So it's very dramatic. It's not that way in Monmouth County. I would say more houses might have some kind of termite mitigation or termite issue than do not. It's just the nature of the soil, especially as we get to the shore towns, because they live in that sandy soil, and then in April they swarm and they attack the foundations to your home.
I didn't know that they thrived in sandy soils.
They do, yeah. So
interesting.
We're especially at risk here, so it's not something to be alarmed about or not to purchase a home in Monmouth County but you want to always keep some kind of pest control contract on your house.
It's a couple of $100. It's nothing major, but the repair costs
I know,
could go into thousands. And every home inspection has what we call a WDI, a wood destroying insect inspection. So you're going to have expert eyes looking on your house when you do come to sell it, or as a buyer when you're buying it. So just avoiding that is really, really smart. How about carpenter ants or carpenter bees, right?
That's a horrible issue with carpenter bees. I have one in my own house I can't get rid of. So
really?
They go into the eaves.
Yep.
But we're going to do the siding soon. I think that should remedy it. But yeah, carpenter bees can be very, very damaging as well.
My in-laws had them, and they were in the walls so bad that they eventually, I don't know if they came in through the ceiling or the wall in the closet. Oh my God, it was unbelievable.
But they just opened the door and there were
I don't know if they ate their way through. This was like 25 years ago. It was
they
very,
can
very
eat
long
their way
time
right
ago.
through.
I think that's what they did. They ate their way through, and then they were just like all there, like in the house, in the bedroom. It was an estate apartment, or townhouse rather, and who was there? Who found this? There was a beehive this big. It was so big, it went from the garage through the wall into the hallway closet.
Oh my God.
Huge.
Wasps?
Yeah. Bees, wasps, I don't know what the difference is. Just huge and scary. It was this big, big thing. I had to call in, truly an expert who came in with the hat and the white coat and the shoes and the everything. And he had the way he had to get rid of it and carry it out. He was carrying a body out of the house.
Wow.
And they were just swarming. They got really mad that their home was taken away. But it's a scary thing. Bats are terrible.
I had bats too.
Raccoons are terrible. I had a house once where we were selling it, and there was a bird that got stuck in the attic, I don't know, a long time ago. But when I walked up into the attic, because it was one of those like walk-in attics, I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
what happened? Like, who got murdered up here, right? Because that bird was so mad and it was trying so hard to get out. The wood was destroyed. The window was not destroyed, but it was just literally all pecked away. And I was like, we need to do something. I know it's the attic, but this is just not good.
So I had a bat.
You had a bat?
I live by a pond.
Oh, bats are endangered species.
They are. I was in season, so I could get rid of them. But I walked up and I saw like a little poopy, and I was like, "That's not a dog." And I have a dog. I was like, "What is this?" So I thought it might be a squirrel or something. I'm looking around, like so creeped out because I do not like this. Is
Yeah.
I mean, I've been chased out of like a listing with a raccoon before, but I don't like it. And they came in, and they said it was bats, and to try to mitigate the bats is so hard.
What'd they have to do?
I don't know how they
Do
got
they
them out.
trap them?
They did trap them. There was 3 of them, which was actually
Wow.
not bad. But they feed on mosquitoes. So if you have any still water, the
I
bats come in.
know,
And then
I
we had to do
know.
a funnel cone around the
I know, which is
the
why I get why we need the bats, because I don't want the mosquitoes.
I know. That's a hard choice.
The whole little system, I get it, but they're both horrible. But that could be a very expensive, and it's just like it just takes up so much of your time and your energy
Oh, I know.
trying to correct it, right? And having people in the house to take care of it. Again, it's one of those things where you have to constantly walk around your house, get rid of those little bee hives that you see, knock them down with a hose or whatever you might want to do, but don't let them grow because
No.
they can get really big, and it just causes more and more problems. And that whole like out of sight, out of mind thing
Nope.
does not work with homes.
Nope.
You need to know what's going on in your home all the time.
So I'm excited to hear what George has to say.
Yeah, he's gonna, it's a great business, and we're super excited to have him. So, welcome, George.
Yeah, so when you think of maintenance for your home, right, you think of obviously pest control, right? So most of our clients we get are mostly from, I have an issue, right? So they have, maybe mice droppings in their basement. They're having ants all over their kitchen. They're having termite damage, now in their home, right? And that's fine. And that's how we get a lion's share of our customers. But that's going to cost a lot of money up front. And now we need to come in and get the kind of our arms around the issue. The goal is always then to shift, once we have arms around the issue, into maintenance.
Right.
Right. And so we're doing that through typically 3 to 4 visits a year, usually an exterior service where you're treating the perimeter of the home, you're treating the backyard, the fence line, right? And really trying to get things from a preventive perspective, not coming in. Because once they're inside, now you have an issue.
Right.
Right. And it saves money in the long run because you're not having that emergency service that's going to cost thousands of dollars.
Right. So now, curious, do you get most of your customers on their own that they discovered something? Or is it like in our business, I just had a home inspection, I found out I have termites or carpenter ants or carpenter bees, can you help me?
Yeah, so I would say there's 3 main ways residentially in which we get customers, right? One is themselves, right? So they have an issue, oh my God, I need to call an exterminator, I need to call a pest control company. They look on Google and they call us because we probably have the best reviews locally, right? That's great. Secondarily is the homeowner that just bought their home and they go, I want to get ahead of this, I want to have a preventative maintenance plan. So that's the second group that comes into play. The third is they're in the real estate transaction process, right? And so the home inspector has come in, they've noticed an issue, they say you need to get a treatment, you need to bring a pest control provider in. So we'll get a call to help perform a treatment, whether that being a WDI, a termite treatment, even rodent issues sometimes come up in real estate transactions. And then lastly, on real estate deals, it also depends on what type of loan the buyer's having these days. Oftentimes with the VA loan, we're seeing more and more they're required to have a WDI inspection as part of the closing process. And so we're getting a phone call in those situations as well.
And
Question for you. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say some townships, like the VA loan, that was an excellent point. And some townships actually make both buyer and seller sign off on a clean WDI, report.
That's right.
Because they just want to help save the neighborhood too. You know what I'm saying? Like one infestation can move to the next house down the row.
So you mentioned mice droppings in a basement and ants in a kitchen for termites, because that can be very costly. It really scares a lot of buyers. It scares everyone.
Yep.
What are the signs for a termite?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
before the tube.
Yeah, that's right. So obviously termites is kind of that big word that everyone looks out for and is really scared, especially if you have a home buyer that hasn't owned a home before. It's their first home. They go in, they start hearing termites. they're going to run for the exit.
Yeah.
Right. So you know what to look for. Obviously, I think Dorian just mentioned the mud tubes that you would see in the basement would be indicative of a termite issue. And ideally, they should have termite stations on the exterior of their home. So it goes along the perimeter of the property. Your pest control technician is inspecting it annually. They actually have an active ingredient in the termite station that all of a sudden would effectively the termites would go towards the active ingredient instead of your home. And so you're checking down every service visit to see if there's termites approaching the property. And so that allows us to get ahead of, all of a sudden you don't have termites eating out the wood flooring in your basement, right? Or the wood flooring of your home. So that's
the
that's
garage post is like a big area too where they seem to hit, right?
Yep, garage posts. Obviously, you're looking at the floor joists in the basement. You're looking in along the whole kind of the whole basement line in general. You'll see a lot of mud tubes. So basement's going to be a common area. The garage is a great point as well. In a home inspection, that will come up, right? But the way to get ahead of it as a homeowner is ultimately you should be having termite stations on the exterior of your property. That's part of your ultimate maintenance plan that occurs on an annual basis.
Without even ever having termites, just doing it completely proactively.
Completely proactively, yeah.
Wow.
And honestly, it's not, you would end up paying, call it a warranty, an annual kind of termite warranty to your local pest control company. It's probably $150, $200 a year to be protected for termite coverage. Compared
thousands.
When you pay thousands of dollars when you have a significant
damage.
issue, at the end of the day, it's kind of a drop in the hat compared to what an actual issue could be for your home.
These pests make buyers run for the hills, as you said.
Yep.
Which, and something that a lot of buyers don't really know is most of these things are treatable. But which pest is the biggest pest to get rid of?
Yeah, that's a great question. So termites is a great example because it is obviously a significant issue that requires, I would call it, a very in-depth treatment. That's certainly one. Secondarily is rodents. If the home has a history of rodent activity, there needs to be significant kind of inspection around the entry points and how they're getting in the property. Just throwing down, kind of wooden traps doesn't do it, right? You can remove things all day long, but at the end of the day, you got to find out how they're getting in.
Hardy little creatures.
Yeah.
Just keep multiplying.
So rodents is the other one that's a really big deal. So rodents and termites are going to be your biggest issues for sure.
What about like carpenter ants, carpenter bees? They could do a lot of damage.
They can. So carpenter bees and carpenter ants can cause massive issues. So we get calls for ants, especially early in the season. Oh, I just have ants. And it's like, well, no, you have carpenter ants, and they can have significant damage in your home. Funny enough, my neighbor across the street called us for an ant issue. They had carpenter ants eating out the windowsill of their kitchen sink, and you can literally touch the trim work, and it was just falling apart from the damage of carpenter ants.
How could you tell the difference between a carpenter ant and a regular ant?
Yeah, it's the size, right? It's the size and color profile of the ants. Carpenter ants tend to be much larger in size compared to your small odorous ants that maybe you see are running across your kitchen counter.
Right, carrying a big crumb.
Yeah.
Bigger than them.
That's right.
Now, what about the way that you treat from a chemical point of view?
Sure.
I'm assuming not all treatments or chemicals are created equal, right?
Sure.
So your company uses what type of...
Yeah, so we're going to use more natural products, right, for your home. And again, anything we're utilizing on the exterior of the home is going to be safe for when it being you have any pets, you have young children, you have any type of, anyone that was maybe elderly in your home, any type of health concerns, anything we use is going to be safe for those individuals. And we pride ourselves to be able to use more of a natural product to be protective, not just for the family that owns the home, but also for the environment.
But still gets rid of the bugs.
Still gets rid of the bugs, all right? Still gets rid of the pest issues for sure. The idea is ideally we're taking care of things on the outside, right? If we need to come inside, which we do on a routine basis, just means you have an interior issue that requires a little bit more legwork to get our arms around it. And that's when we get that initial phone call, hey, I have the ants in the kitchen, I have the rodents in the house. It's, well, that's why you didn't have the maintenance program, right? Yeah. And if you stayed ahead of it, ideally everything's taken care of on the outside.
Because your eyes would have picked up on it in the very, very beginning.
Yeah, our eyes would have picked up on it. The treatment approach in which we're applying and that 3-4 times a year is safeguarding the home. So it kind of develops that barrier around the property, right? So that we're not getting it. And if they are getting it, if it does happen, it's probably at a very small scale, right? That we can address really quickly compared to the large scale issue that's going to cost you a lot of money.
How often do you need to refill those termite traps?
Yeah, so typically depends on the style, right? There's different kind of, as you can imagine, manufacturers and utilization of it. It's typically annually. Some of them are twice a year, depending upon the style of station, but it's usually an annual replenishment of the bait that's effectively in the termite station.
Okay.
What would, like, one thing that kind of I feel goes hand in hand with pests or animals in a house, especially on a home inspection, is the foliage and the landscaping and how close it is to a house. And is it coming over the gutters and the roof line or that close to the windows?
Yeah, so massive issue with the foliage, right? You look at any home that has the trees that are hanging over the house. That's when they honestly get severe wildlife issues. So that's the raccoon in the attic, the squirrels in the attic. So we deal with that as well on a routine basis, whether that being,
God.
yep. So, you go into an attic and there's, a family of raccoons living up there. They can obviously cause an absolute mess, right?
Right.
And so there's folks that then all of a sudden need to clean out the entire attic and
All new insulation.
and things of that nature. Ideally, it's first and foremost, it's a safe replacement of the family, right, out of the attic. And then ultimately you're sealing up the entry point, right? Because the last thing you want to do is first seal up the hole and then the family hasn't left yet and they get trapped. And then especially then if one of the family members has left and they all haven't left yet, things can get kind of very serious very quickly. And they can cause a lot of damage when they're that kind of frustrated because they can't get in or they can't get out. And so ultimately, yes.
Wow, that's so interesting. But yeah, wow.
Yeah, and so with the foliage, I would always suggest, trimming it back, not having it going over your gutters, right? Not providing those easy access points to your home because at the end of the day, especially, I know we're in August, but soon enough we'll be in cold weather and they'll look for a place to obviously, hunker down for the winter.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I wish people would buy into the whole you don't need the landscaping giving you shade. You're not saving any money by not having the sun on your roof. It's just so much more damage.
Also, I mean, this isn't a conversation for George, but the tree limbs fall on people's houses all the time. They're super, super damaging, and that's very expensive.
Very expensive.
And then you have a claim on your homeowner's insurance, and insurance is such a nightmare,
They are.
Does insurance cover like a raccoon in your attic if they do a lot of damage?
Typically not. It's a good question as far as if you're going to be changing out the insulation in your home.
Yeah.
There's oftentimes some opportunities there for cost savings on your insurance. For a standard, removing wildlife, you wouldn't be covered for that style of issue. So yeah, you're very much responsible as the homeowner, right? If those issues kind of occur, when you could have had a little bit more prevention to your point, on not having the trees falling over the side of your home.
What's the craziest kind of pest that you've ever had to come get?
So we try not to deal with too crazy of pests, right? I would say mostly, the craziest is more when we get into the raccoons and the squirrels and things of that nature. We took care of a squirrel out of someone's home. It ended up in a technician's truck one day, which was a lot of fun. So I remember getting that phone call, but we try not to deal with too many of the crazy situations. But they certainly are. Angry? Yeah, it's unclear. I think it's unclear.
What about frogs? I constantly have frogs in my pool. Ugh.
Yeah,
I can't.
So we don't do too much for frogs.
I'm just saying, it's so annoying.
We don't do much for frogs. We don't do much for snakes. We try to avoid those type of phone calls. And you mentioned bats before. Bats are really tough.
Oh, I know. I had them.
Yeah, and they're protected. So there's like certain times of the year in which you can get them out, and so it's a very big deal on how you kind of ultimately approach bats. So that's
like October, right?
It is, yeah. October is one of the pieces of the year. It all depends upon when the birth of the family is and when you can move them and when you can't. So
because they want them to give birth in your house.
Yeah, that's fair. There's a bunch of, obviously a lot of the animals are protected, right? And so you have to follow the rules and regulations on when we can move them, when we can't, and when you can do certain things.
Wow.
Yeah.
So. Wow. If you were to advise a new homeowner, or maybe even just, an experienced established homeowner who's been like, la for the last few years, what would you say if they were to like walk around their house, the outside of the house? Is there anything that they should be looking for? Be like a quick, noticeable thing? Wow, I should get on the phone with somebody. Like just to kind of help somebody be encouraged to, I don't know, like can they even notice something before it becomes a problem? Maybe that's just a silly question.
I think there's an extent of it, right? I mean, if you're seeing kind of openings on the side of your house, right? You're seeing a crack in a window, you're seeing a crack in your siding, right? Things that you have your faucets outside of your home, are they sealed up so that there's no openings through there? Is a common way insects and rodents can get in, right? So it's things along those nature that that can show potential kind of areas of activity or where they can get into your home. So certainly would look out for that. And then, it also depends upon too, right, what kind of wood structures you have around your home. You're doing any type of yard work, you may all of a sudden cut something open.
Firewood or sheds.
Firewood sheds, those are obviously attractive to termites and wood destroying insects. So if you're just taking a look at some of those areas, you'll get a feel if there's anything going on as well.
Way in the back of the yard.
That's right.
Not, right leaning up against the back of the house.
That's right.
If you were to say, actually, I had two questions. HOAs.
Sure.
Do they do it as a community or as an individual homeowner, or does it just vary by association?
Yeah, great question. So it does have a piece of varying by association. So the most common case that we see is that the HOA is historically responsible for the exterior of the complex. So, you have ticks and mosquitoes, you have some type of ants outside, rodents outside, the HOA is responsible. And then the interior of the property is usually the responsibility of the homeowner.
Okay.
And that's the nuance of our HOAs.
Okay.
So this is your busy season then?
Yeah, it is very much the busy season. So we are in the back half of our busy season. Usually finishes up by kind of October. Right now is stinging insect season. So there are yellow jackets everywhere. There's bees nests in the ground on the side of people's homes. So our phone is kind of ringing constantly with those style of issues.
And the mice are going to come soon.
Mice
I don't have
mice
them,
will be
but
back.
You actually just reminded me. I have my landscaper, when they were trimming, there is a bee's nest in the mulch. I don't know if my husband ever addressed that.
Yeah.
Not the mulch, the dirt, like whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, so there's ground nesting bees.
Yes,
which
what do you do with that?
you can still treat it and remove it out of the ground, right? And so those could be like a yellow jacket's nest in the ground.
Go with a pitchfork?
It's a little tougher.
Yeah.
So there's certain bees that come out of the ground, and there's certain that are more kind of building that nest on the exterior of your home in a tree or what have you. But
Yeah, we were at a house once, and there were all these like low-lying like bees flying like right over the tips of the grass. I was like, what is that? And it was, I don't know what they were called. I forgot what they were called, but.
So they were probably, there's two types of, other than yellow jackets, you might see like little sand mounds that almost maybe you would think are ant mounds, but they're either like digger bees or they could be cicada killers, right? So the digger bees are small, maybe hovering around the lawn to your point. Usually not aggressive until you bother them, right? Where cicada killers similarly don't bother you at all, don't particularly sting, but they're just very scary, especially for young children because they're massive.
Wow.
So just difference.
That's crazy.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I
Yeah,
really
of course.
appreciate it. It's
Yeah.
really good to
It's
have
good
your insight.
information, yeah.
And then where can we find you for our listeners?
Yeah, sure. So you can certainly find us at agilepest.com.
Okay.
You can always look us up, whether it being our website or just Google us. We do have almost 300 reviews in just under a year and a half of operation. So 300 5-star reviews. So
That's great.
We're very excited about the momentum in the business and
Yeah.
being able to be a Monmouth County-based business that solely services our community.
Great.
Well, it's like welcome to the suburbs. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's great to be here, but you have to be smart and you have to invest a little bit in maintenance to really have the best quality of life in your home, in your backyard.
You do. And we get those phone calls all the time when folks move out from the city and come to the suburbs and realize I actually need some pest control.
Yeah. Not for rats like they see in the subways, but for other
That's right.
animals.
That's
But
right.
anyway, okay. Well, thank you so much, George. It
course,
was
Doreen.
really
Thank you.
fantastic to have you.
Of
Thank
course,
you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.